We are live. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. All of you who have logged in. This is Falguni, and we have brought the 42nd episode of Cancer Cicerone Live, the only talk show in Gujarat that talks about fashion and lifestyle, the issues, the trends, and all things fun as well on this segment. And as you might have seen, the vintage trend is coming back like in a full swing. You see those big collars and 70s fashion and flared pants and oversized glasses and slip dresses and whatnot. Very eclectic fashion. And it kind of makes you wonder that whatever your grandmother or mom used to wear in her days, in her college life, maybe somebody should have stored that so you could just steal that and wear it right now, you know? But in case your moms didn't wear that, there is an option right now, which is very wonderful woman called Divya Seni. She's brought her label called Body Men's, which is a vintage fashion abode, one would say. So welcome on the show, Divya. We are so glad that you're joining us from Goa and managing with the technical glitches.
I'm so sorry, whoever there is. I would want to apologize in advance. The internet here is kind of not that good compared to like a metropolitan city, and so we might be facing some glitches. And I just apologize for that. In case I'm hung or I go like super fast.
Awesome. So let me give you a brief about Divya. Divya is a fashion celebrity and editorial stylist who works in Mumbai and Paris both together. She's contributed to various Indian and international magazines like Harper Bazaar, Adorn, Siki, Vanity Teen, Cake, Contributor, and many more. In fact, she has also worked as a celebrity stylist with the celebrities that we all love, like Swara Bhaskar, Radhika Apte, Kiara Advani, Malika Dua, Anushka, Shankar, and who all. She works on films, commercials, and digital content. The reason why I got in touch with Divya was Body Men's. I have been following Body Men's for a long time now, I think about a year and a half. Is that right, Divya? When did you launch it? A year?
It should be a year and a half now. We just celebrated our 1 year anniversary in December. Yeah. And then followed by a series of events, and then followed by the lockdown. So it's 1.5 years. Wow, half a year just went in the lockdown, I think.
Yeah, it did. It did. But I kind of fell in love when I saw Bollywood for the first time, and the kind of photography and the styling that you did and the editorial approach to it. I was like, my God, this style is something which I totally relate to, and I would love to lay my hands on something like this. And the more I read about it, I started realizing that you are kind of scouting all of these things through your aesthetic sense, and you pick up the vintage finds from all over the globe and India and all of it. And which kind of brings us to today's topic now, that what is the future of vintage fashion in the current scenario? So let's start with the basic, Divya. How does one piece become, when is a piece called a vintage piece?
So technically, a piece is called a vintage piece if it's aged between 20 years to 100 years. Right now, the term vintage is actually being used kind of profusely when it comes to fashion. Also, with garments that have a certain kind of aesthetic sense, but they might not necessarily be vintage. Technically, it has to be 20 years and above to 100 years, and after 100 years it's an antique piece. So yeah, but I mean, there are so many garments, and you have like even newer brands and designers kind of being inspired from the vintage aesthetic. So I think there's always like a blurred line. I think a lot of stores and designers mean to say that they're vintage style, and that's the difference from being an actual vintage piece, which is that this piece has actually existed for 20 years or more. Right. So that is what a vintage piece is.
Right, fantastic. So I recently read on CNN one of the reports suggested that by 2028, the used fashion or the second-hand fashion or the vintage fashion market is going to hit more than $64 billion, which is going to be way ahead of fast fashion business, which is pegged at $44 billion. Now, that seems to be the trend for US. What do you think, in your experience of 1.5 years at Body Men's, how are Indians responding to it?
Oh my God, I just lost you. You can still hear me, right?
I can hear you. Did you?
I know. I kind of grasped what you were talking about.
Yeah.
So, I mean, see, I see fast fashion completely dying out in the coming years because I think the whole ideology that it runs on is now being futile and too obsolete. When it comes to vintage, I have actually, as owning a brand in India, I've actually seen a very quick and a very beautiful change when it comes to people's perspective to using pre-loved clothing. The matter of fact is that vintage fashion is actually very adaptable. So it can easily follow your latest trends as well as give you your timeless classic look, which is why I think people kind of love the whole trend of it. But honestly, India has been shockingly receptive to it. I actually, vintage became a trend in the 1960s, and it's coming to India now after 70 years, or not, like, I don't know the maths, but whatever, a lot of years. And oh, I can't hear you at all.
60 years?
Yeah, 60 years. And so, but having said that, when I started the brand, I actually I did face a lot of stereotypes when it comes to, Indians particularly being open to wearing used clothing, or to the fact that because we have never been kind of accepting of the fact that we have never had that culture, but that's not actually kind of true, because if you vintage has actually been a part of India from I don't even know how many years. It's a culture in India to pass down your kids' clothes to your cousins who's having a new kid. It's a culture in India to pass down your grandmother's saris to your great grand kids. And so it's always been a culture. It's just that it has there haven't been like shops and kind of like people doing it openly. It's always been in between families. So initially when we got the whole concept to India, it was more of also educating than just selling the clothes, also making people understand that what is the ideology behind this, what is the concept, why it is good actually, because and it actually does even provide the best quality. So yeah, it's been a great like joyride, and I'm absolutely happy to see how Indians, including your celebrities, including everybody's being so perceptive to it and have received it from an open arms. It's really great, and I'm very happy. And there is always going to be the masses that are kind of still oblivious to the whole idea, which is why we're here. We're not just a platform that is selling clothes, we're also constantly educating our customers and our consumers as to what we stand for, why vintage, why it is the future, and so forth.
Lovely. So I'll be like really happy to share with you that just about last year in June, in fact, we, Cicerone, hosted a pre-loved garage sale, which was the first of its kind in Gujarat. And
Wow.
it was not vintage. Of course, all of us didn't own vintage, but what we did,
Yeah.
we got some 25 people of Ahmedabad and kind of took clothes from them and kind of put it up on sale and curated it so well that nobody
Nice.
thought it was old. And we
Yeah.
were really skeptical about the perception value, like how you write,
Yeah.
the stigma of buying secondhand. But
Yeah.
amusingly, it was just the same response like how you are mentioning.
Exactly. So the thing is, when you go to vintage shops and markets abroad, they offer you like the quantity of clothes they offer you is a lot, and then you have to kind of choose and figure out the best options for yourself. But here I think us as boardmates, what we do is we cut down the process and we kind of go and choose the best. So when we are picking up a garment, there is a very strenuous process. We are checking it thoroughly. We are making sure that, I mean, not just aesthetically pleasing, because that is obviously our top priority, but also the fact that it has to look new or near to new, because we know that Indians are still not going to be picking up that kind of vintage where, oh, if a button is missing, I'll replace it. That mentality hasn't arrived yet. It will soon. I'm sure, I'm hoping we are able to get it, but which is why when it comes to curation, we the quality really matters.
Yeah, that does. That does.
Yeah.
And how did the idea of starting Bodyments come in the first place? What prompted you there?
So I think it was about 4 years ago. It's a very lovely story. I love telling it all the time. I basically had gone to Europe for a month. It was one of those, I had, solo travel, going to find myself, that trip, and I found Boardmans instead. I ended up, the day I landed in Paris, I was taken by my friend to a vintage store in the outskirts of France. I saw some beautiful pieces. I picked them up, and it was, I felt like it was almost hypnotic, because it started from there, and then every country I went to, which was 7 other countries, I just made sure that like I was like, automatically drawn towards like I'd be walking on the road and I would see a store and I had to go in, because the culture there is very strong. There are stores in the main streets and the main sort of corners. They have all the vintage stores. So that happened, and then by the end of the trip, which is after 1 month, I realized I had picked up some 50, 60 odd pieces with no agenda. I don't know what I had to do with it. They just, for me, it was just like they were so stunning that if I didn't pick them, the fear of losing out on them made me, I just had to have them, So I had some 50, 60 odd pieces, and I didn't even have any occasions to wear them. In my head, I'm just picking them up thinking that, okay, maybe I'll do a shoot with them, in that manner, I'll be able to use them. Then I came back to India and I started wearing some of the pieces. And obviously, the world is so connected. I posted a picture on Instagram, and people bombarded me with, hey, where is this from? Where from? And that's when, and it was not just one, it was, in like 50s. And so I was just like, wow, there is a kind of a market here. People do understand this fashion, however niche it may be. And it started 1.5 years ago. I'm not even kidding. It was so niche, and within 1.5 years it has expanded so much. It's so beautiful and so surprising. So yeah, then I was bombarded with those questions, and then that's when I was like, you know what, I called up like 6 of my girlfriends, all models, and I was like, let's go to my friend's farmhouse in Alibag and let's shoot a campaign. So the first ever campaign, I don't know if you've seen, it's like 6 girls in a field in Alibag, yeah. And so we just kind of, and that's how it basically came to being. And after that, oh shit, I'm so sorry. And after that, there was no going back. Once I'd done it, it kind of put a pressure on me. So after even shooting the campaign for like 2 months, I was scared, because when you're starting something new, you're obviously afraid of failure, right? And I was perfectly happy, working as a stylist. I had enough on my plate. I didn't have to start something that's going to, kind of cage me. Like for now, for example, when you start a business, you can't, travel that often. There's a lot of things you have to think of in the future. So then for about 2 months after the shoot, I still was, going back and forth, figuring out if I really want to do it. And then I just went live. I was like, if I see, and then everyone I met, I told them I was going to do this. So it kind of put like pressure on me to do it. And so after 2 months, I think 3 months, I waited after we shot those pictures to kind of plan everything. And we went live we kind of announced it in June, and we went live in November 2000, 2 years ago. Yeah. November 2 years ago, yeah.
So tell me, in terms of response, what is the age group and which are the cities that are responding well? I'm sure you would have some insights into that.
Yeah. So Boardmates is actually currently a global brand. We have a team in Paris. Our partner Martin also resides between Paris and India, and so do I. So definitely there's a base in, we have a group that's
Active.
the age, yeah, back in Paris and here. Apart from that, we do have a great response that's coming, and in India, I think we have at least one customer from each state, if you know, for sure. Majority would be Bombay and Delhi, Hyderabad, Bangalore, but from I'm sometimes surprised. I'm surprised actually at some of the addresses I have to see and understand. Wait, where is this? You know, because it's a little village or like a little city in the outskirts of some state, and it's really interesting to know. In terms of age group, I think the majority would be from when we started, it was 25 to 35, but now it's expanded from, I guess, from 18. From it, like we have customers who are 18-year-olds to even 50-year-olds, you know, because we do stock luxury vintage as well. And I think with age comes I mean, I'm not sort of categorizing, but I think the age of 35 to 45, 50 are very much drawn towards, you know, the luxury vintage clothing.
The affordability increases, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So tell me something. How is vintage fashion and sustainable living related to each other? Is there any link?
Of course, there is. So, I mean, see, we all know fashion and the kind of repercussions it has towards the, feel like it just kind of sad that the masses are not aware of this fact. They're not aware of why the pieces of clothing we're buying from say a Zara or an H&M, why is it so cheap? If it is so cheap, then who is the person who's paying the price for it? So which is why we're here to educate them. When it comes to sustainability, I think there is nothing more sustainable than clothing that already exists. You are not sort of adding to the clothing that's going to end up either being burnt or fill our landfills. You're not adding to the waste, because there is already all kinds of waste that exists all over the world, and it's increasing at the scariest rate possible. And so buying vintage, I would say, is the most conscious kind of effort you can make, or the smallest effort you can make when it comes to choosing a sustainable lifestyle. Because living a sustainable lifestyle is just being conscious of your environment and your consumption, right? And when you buy vintage fashion, you are not contributing, you're decreasing the carbon footprint of the piece instead of increasing it. You're not adding waste, you're reusing, you're recycling. So it automatically goes hand in hand, and there isn't anything more sustainable than using pieces that already exist, you know.
Wonderful, wonderful. I completely agree to that. So
Yeah.
you also work as a stylist, and so in your line of work, have you also felt that currently, like 2020 or 2019, a lot of decades trends are coming back, and that might
Mm.
people to buy vintage fashion?
So, you know, if you're a fashion insider, you know that trends are all cyclic. What was working in the 60s is going to come back now. What was working in the 70s is going to come back. It's all in a cycle. There's no new innovation that's happening. There was hip hop happening back in the days, and now streetwear is in, and it's going to die out. But vintage fashion actually will never die out, simply because it has so much to offer, you know. um, when you know it There are different genres of vintage. It offers your street style, it offers your timeless classic, it offers your you know, funky prints. It basically has, it's really vast. And wait one second, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so wait, I lost track. What were we talking about?
Talking about the style influences right now, are
Yeah.
they?
So when it comes to trends, you know, I'm sorry, hello, wait, you glitched. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when it comes to trends, trends do not last. They keep on changing. And if you follow trends, then you are losing out on your own personal fashion identity. Every individual has their own identity, and they express it through the clothes they wear, or the lifestyle they live, and or how they consume, right? So when a consumer is conscious, they will choose to wear certain kinds of clothing, they will choose to associate with certain kinds of brand. When a conscious is, say, a trendsetter, they will choose to associate with certain kind of brands. So base
Yes, I can hear
yeah,
you.
yeah. So that's basically, I guess, uh,
So I think what you're saying is that individual fashion will rule over rather than just the trends. I think people will want to kind of invest into individualistic style, identify it and pick up from
exactly.
vintage, maybe it is new, whatever that is.
Yeah,
But don't.
exactly. Yeah,
Lovely.
because
Yeah.
no, I'm saying all the trends we see right now, like you mentioned in the beginning of the interview, all your bell bottoms, all your, printed shirts, all your shoulder pads, they've already existed. Now, if the pieces have already existed, and we have all the new fast fashion brands trying to copy those aesthetics to offer those kind of trends to the people. Now, these trends are timeless. They're never going to go out of style. Like a bell bottom is, all these, they have, and like I said, even the prints, everything is cyclic. So why not just use the pieces that already exist than invest in kind of buying pieces that are kind of an imitation of trying to achieve the vintage inspired look than actually achieving something that's actually vintage.
Absolutely. I completely
Yeah.
agree. Tell me something, as a insider who's working as a stylist, especially even with the Bollywood celebs, and you've been also into a lot of modeling assignments yourself. How receptive is the non-conformist style right now? Because every brand campaign has to look different,
Yeah.
and I think stylist role is really important right now.
Right.
So
Right.
what do you think on the non-conformist styling that is doing rounds right now?
So, you in India, fashion is, when you talk about fashion, for the masses, I think it's Bollywood and what the celebrities are wearing. So, when you talk about non-conformist style, I think you speak about individual brands trying to express in a certain manner through their ideas. Over the past couple of years, I think I've seen a beautiful amount of absolutely talented individuals sort of contributing to this. Even though the masses are not able to relate to the kind of art they are trying to, and I would call it art because that's how beautiful their images are, be it a stylist or be it a photographer. Even though the masses are not able to relate to it, times are changing. We are kind of being globalized in terms of fashion, where we have actually been very away from the global fashion and the global fashion standards. Every trend that reaches India, I think, reaches 2 hours, I'm saying 2 years
Okay.
after it has been a trend in, say, Paris or in London. So we are kind of catching up simply because India has never been a country where fashion was a priority. Clothes were meant to be worn for a purpose. They had to cover you. There wasn't a need to look good, and still isn't for the masses. It's only people who kind of want to stand out, or people who whose priority is fashion. When you walk out on a street in Bombay, you are not going to see people dressed impeccably head to toe like you do when you walk out on a street in Paris, because our priority is not, has never been fashion. So when you talk about interesting new age styling, they're kind of not going to be, they won't be able to understand it yet. However, the perceptions are changing, and even brands are changing. They are allowing certain kind of liberty which they didn't before when it comes to images, because we have seen a great change. I mean, if you see your classic photographers and if you see your new age photographers, the aesthetics are completely different. And even though a lot of commercial brands are sticking to the older styles which are so obsolete that the newer generation is not even able to kind of comprehend with it, but the newer batch of people, the younger ones who have either studied abroad or well traveled or have a completely different set of aesthetics, they are also kind of gaining attraction, and brands are willing to take that little creative step in terms of that, the it's almost because you're stepping out of your cage. You, as a brand, you either want to create images, okay, my priority is to show my clothes and that's it, or a brand will say that I want to create beautiful images. When a brand comes to you and says I want to create beautiful images, that's when the game changes. That's when you have the creative liberty to kind of play around, put a shoe on the head, which a mass is going to be like, "Hey, why is this person wearing a shoe on the head?" But if you see an image, if you have any kind of aesthetic sense, you will see the image and you'll be like, whoa, this is cool. This shoe on the head is looking kind of cool.
Yeah.
So that's, yeah. So it's and it has nothing to do with I guess it has a lot to do with the country we are, and we have never been. We have a certain fashion, and it's Indian clothing. When you get into Indian wear, then your masses can relate. But when you try to get Western, I think it's kind of, we're slow and we're kind of getting there at our own pace.
Right. So tell me something. If somebody was to buy vintage fashion, traveling, they were buying from thrift store, what is the precaution or care one needs to take? If somebody has a fairly decent sense of aesthetics, how does one shop?
So the first thing is, wherever you are, I'm just going to tell you, organization is the key. You should always know what you want, because when you go to a vintage or market or a vintage store, it has hundreds and hundreds of clothing. It's not a boutique store like, say, ours, where we are handpicking pieces particularly for particular kind of aesthetic sense and people who we think might fit into it. It's for masses over there. So it has hundreds of pants, shirts, every garment to offer accessories. So you should first, before you get into a store, you should know exactly what you want. And then, yeah, maybe from the corner of your eye, you do find a jacket that was not, your initial idea, but is absolutely stunning. Yeah, go ahead for it. But kind of have a clarity on what you want, because when I get into a store, I actually can see through the clothes, like it's almost like, okay, this, but otherwise you're going to get lost. Second thing is that make sure that you read up about whichever store you're going to, or ask around with friends, locals, ask for advice that, hey, which are the best stores, because there are obviously famous stores in each countries depending on your budget that you can that you have access to. Once you're in the store, make sure you do like a quick quality check on the garment. Check for first thing, definitely check the underarms and the collars for any stains, any sweat marks, because sweat marks do not go. When the garment has turned yellow, it cannot be sort of turned back to its original state. So check for sweat marks if you're okay with it, because a lot of times I am okay with it, however nasty it might sound, simply because if the jacket is a YSL and it's stunning and it's coming to me for a certain price, I'm okay to come to India and change the lining of it, right? So which is where the damage has happened. So definitely do a quick quality check. If it's wool, there's spilling happening on it, you need to know, you can razor it out. If it is, check the buttons real quick, check the collar, check the underarms, check the lining. And I mean, we the good part about us is that we live in India and we have the greatest masters or master Gs of, I would like to believe, the world, even though it might not be true. And they're able to fix a lot of things. So yeah, if you really like the piece and if it is fixable, pick it up.
Wonderful.
The thing is, the story doesn't really end after you've picked up once you've picked up the piece. There's also aftercare. Vintage pieces were particularly made to last. Okay, they are of a higher quality, because back in the days, the garment, the fabrics that were to offer, the craftsmanship that was to offer was of a much more higher quality, because now things are being mass produced. So aftercare is also very important. Make sure that if it is a dry clean only, make sure first you find out if every garment kind of has a tag. So first you find out if it has certain kind of instructions that comes with it. If it does, then follow those instructions. If it doesn't have an instruction, then stick to, if it's something more couture, then stick to dry clean. And if it's something you think that can be washed at home, then stick to hand wash with cold water only. Do not mix them while washing with other garments. Make sure that if you've worn it for say less than a couple of hours, or if it doesn't smell, do not wash it. There is, I think in India we come with this privilege of having a maid and having to wash the clothes whenever we want to, and which is why we overwash clothes a lot of times, which also has a very, very negative impact on the environment, by the way. All the chemicals going into the sea and all the water being wasted. But that is totally avoidable if you just plan when you have to wash your clothes, and especially if I'm talking about vintage in particular, and make sure you don't overwash them. Make sure you do not dry them in the sun, because sun also has kind of bleaching properties. If it is a piece that is very dear to you, put it in a cover. All my pieces are all hung in covers, every single piece. It just ages it well. Anything you take good care of will last. So clothing will definitely.
Those are great tips, Divya. Those are fantastic tips. So now tell me, to kind of round up this entire conversation, let's lead people to the wonderful store that you have, which is Bodyments. What should one kind of pick up right now from Bodyments? What's like your favorite thing?
Oh, that's a tough one. Every piece is handpicked by me, so there isn't a favorite. It's like they're little babies of mine. How can I choose one that is my most favorite? But if I have to, like every parent has to, I think we have one of this beautiful raw silk jacket. That's my favorite piece currently. It's hand painted, and it's from a designer that doesn't exist, from a Parisian boutique, I would say back in 1970s, that doesn't exist anymore. So that is one of the pieces I can think of on top of my head. And the other two pieces are not available for sale, obviously, because I've kept them for myself. And one of them has to be this. Sorry?
That's not done. You can't do that.
Oh, shit. No, but I mean, we have so much to offer. There is a beautiful section of jackets. We have pants, we have shirts, we have accessories. We are getting into eyewear now because we had such a great response. We had only picked up a couple of pieces, and everything is sold out now. So I think that is also a market we're getting into right now. And particularly if you follow us on Instagram, we every twice a month or once a month, we have an Insta sale. Which is much quicker than the whole website, going into the website, logging out. They're just pictures on Instagram, and you can DM and buy. So there is that. We also have a collection drop every month. So we're going to be doing a drop, I think, next week, and so that you should be able to see some newer pieces, because I think currently a lot of the pieces are sold. And we're also kind of going live with a more interactive blog. So that is also something where we want to engage and sort of cover issues and talk about topics that, share the same ethos as us, and just have a conversation, have a dialogue, and also for the people who have had these stereotypes to understand, because we still do have people who come to us and they ask us, hey, but this is used, right? And then you have to be like, yeah, but why don't you check it for yourself to see the quality it has to offer, and they end up picking it up. So yeah, that's all of that. We were actually in amidst locking a store, our flagship store in Mumbai. It was supposed to be happening in January, but now I think we'll be pushing it, but soon enough, because I just feel like when you are a vintage boutique store, you cannot not have a brick and mortar. You want to be able to walk in and look at the clothes and feel them, and try them on, most importantly. So soon enough. Yeah. But I mean, there's great stuff. Everyone can just head to our website or follow us on Instagram. It's bodyments.com. We are putting out new things every week. So yeah, get your hands on some cool vintage clothing.
Wonderful. Wish you super good luck for the brick and mortar store, and wonderful sales ahead, Divya. It has been such a pleasure speaking
Thank
to you.
you. Thank you.
Vintage market. And I think based on this conversation, I definitely feel vintage fashion will be the way forward.
100%. Yeah. There is no other way forward. You know, we have to, I think, we have to make an effort towards how we are consuming and how we are leading our lifestyle. And in what better time than now to kind of reflect on our actions, you know, and understand that what is the smallest way we can contribute to our where we're living on earth.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Divya. And for all the other viewers, we will be back once again next week with another guest. Hope you had fun listening to Divya. Go ahead, follow the account. We will be kind of putting in the comments section. Thank you so much for being so patient guests.
Thank you, everybody, for bearing with me and my terrible network. I'm so happy you guys were here. I hope I see you guys on my website soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Take care, everyone. Stay safe.